Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm here to talk about the Walker Reboot, episode 1, the pilot episode. Here to talk about it as promised on my channel before, as it premiered on Thursday, January 21st, 2021 on the CW. So I'm recording at 10:55 when it ended at 9. So almost 2 hours since the episode has ended for me. Reason, Legacies appeared after Walker, and you know I have to do my Legacies watch. So now I'm ready to talk about Walker. So first off, huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the premiere episode, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. These are my first genuine first reaction thoughts about the episode. It's going to be a little differently formatted than my usual recap videos, just because this is a new show, but this is also a show I'm not going to do continuous videos about. I just thought it'd be interesting because I'm currently a screenwriting student, and for the past 6 months I've had to really study the structure of what makes a great pilot episode for a TV series. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of do one that's solely focused on that now that I've had that course training. And I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised by the notes that I made. So it's going to be interesting to see. So I hope you guys stick around and see what I have to say, see what I picked up, and see my final thoughts at the very end. But first off, one question many or none of you would be wondering, but did I watch the original series, Walker, Texas Ranger? Not religiously like I do with my shows nowadays, but I did catch a few episodes here and there because my parents were fans of the original series. But I do specifically remember watching an episode that took place at medieval times for some weird reason. I don't know. But it does beg the question, because the original Texas Ranger series was more procedural, where it did deal with case. It was more of case by case, like kind of your procedural cop show kind of a thing. So after watching the Reboots pilot, I'm not sure if we're meant to get that procedural, or if it's more to slant more towards the relationships of the show, and then you just get your odd case here and there in the background, or if it's meant to be long-term cases they deal with, or if each episode we actually are going to deal with a standalone episode. Kind of wondering if it's meant to be like Supernatural in that instance, where you did get different jobs in each episode, but you still had the bigger mythology playing in the background. So I'm wondering if Walker is going to be something similar to that, where it's like you do get your cases, but you have more of the relationship part of their lives more focused than just being side storylines outside of the case. So I'm not sure which way it's leaning towards. And again, I didn't watch the original religiously enough to like really pay attention to like what kind of story structure, but I do remember it was really a lot of standalone cases kind of a thing from what I do remember. So it'll be interesting to see. I thought another thing that we could talk about was the fact that there were a lot of familiar faces in this series for me. First off, the fact Cordell Walker is played by Jared Padalecki, aka Sam Winchester from Supernatural. Then you got Mickey Ramirez, played by Lindsay Morgan, who was Raven Reyes on The 100, another great show that just ended. But then you have Bonham Walker, which is Cordell's father, played by Mitch Pileggi, who played Samuel Campbell on Supernatural. So we had the father-grandson on Supernatural, now being father and son on this show. So that's pretty cool. The Abeline Walker, played by Molly Hagan. She looks familiar to me, but I couldn't pinpoint where she looked familiar to me. And I tried going through the credits, and like none of them really stuck. Like it wasn't a. I'm thinking it was more of like a guest starring role that maybe why she looked familiar to me, because nothing that was on her credits list was something I religiously watched, kind of a thing. Not like with Supernatural, all the other shows I covered on my channel. So I couldn't place it, but she did look familiar. And then we got Captain Larry James, which was played by Colby Bell. He was Jace Turner, that Sentinel agent from the show The Gifted a couple years ago. So that was a reason there. Then you got Emily, played by Genevieve Padalecki, which was not only Jared's wife, but also she played Demon Ruby #2 on Supernatural. So that's one there. And then you have Jerry, played by Odette Enable, who was Samantha Arias / Rain on Supergirl in season 3. So it's like many familiar faces for me. So that was kind of fun for me to see. Just also helped me remember specific characters as well, because if I didn't know their character names just yet in this new one, I was able to like, no, it's the one from the other show, and then that's this character. So it's like, it took some time. It's easier for me to remember characters when I've already seen the faces before, if that makes sense. I don't know. I just thought it was pretty cool. But let's get into storylines. So specifically, I'm going to do a little differently. So I'm going to label the storylines, and then we'll go into the structure, because that's kind of like what I want to do differently with this video. So storylines usually go with A, B, and C. So A is usually what the main episode storyline is going to be. It's usually the one that's like solely focused on that specific episode. I've come to notice. Could be very wrong, but that's usually how I associate it for that. B storyline is usually anything doing with relationships. So these could be like spanning over multiple episodes. It could just be dealing with the personal lives for the characters. So it's usually something like that. And the C storyline is either something that is a very quick minor storyline in the episode, or it's something that's supposed to be like something that runs for multiple episodes, kind of like your season's focus, is what I tend to call it. The way I call it could be very different from what my teacher calls it, but I've come to notice this, and then I kind of associate it with the correct term I learned in class, and I'm like, yeah, it still fits. I'll still keep my labeling. If any one of my classmates hear this, they're probably like, no, but like, I don't tell them about this. So first storyline, so what would be the focus of the episode itself, was the Texas Rangers case. So if it is procedural, it's usually going to be the case of the episode kind of a thing. So that was dealing with the incident with the cop car, and then it led them to a drug smuggling part of the cartel. To be honest, I wasn't really focused on that. I was more focused on the relationship part and trying to learn who these characters were and not the details of the case itself. But that's what the second storyline was, the fact that Cordell was coming back from an undercover gig of 10 months, and he's trying to readjust to being back with his family. So that was a lot of the relationship struggles he had to face, was trying to relearn who his kids were, relearn his dynamic with his parents, with his brother. A lot focused more on his issues with his daughter Stella. I think she's the oldest of the two. Let me double check. I think she's meant to be 6. Yeah, she's 16. His son is 14. Okay, so there's that. And then underlining all that is storyline number 3, which is Cordell or Walker, Cordell, trying to figure out what happened to the death of his wife. So that's going to be the huge mystery. He doesn't believe it was as simple, cut and dry as they were all led to believe 11 months previously. So it seems like he's still hung up on that, rightfully so. So that might be something that focuses the season a little bit. So there's that. Now the structure. The structure is what I really want to get into, because it's going to be more focused on what I kind of learned in class and trying to apply it. So for the structure, this is going to be, plus I'm wondering if this might be easier as a way to help remember or kind of pinpoint what happens. So in the teaser, it's usually the opening sequence. Usually the opening sequence of events in the episode before the title card comes up. So this is kind of where we get the death of Emily Walker, the wife, and then it jumps forward 11 months later to when Cordell is meant to be coming home after a 10-month undercover op. So we see him reuniting with his family. We see him reuniting with his old family, including his parents, his brother, and his son. He does not see his daughter. And then we see him reuniting with his old partner, Larry, who's now his boss. And then he officially meets his new partner, which is Mickey. And then you get the title card, and then you cut to commercial break. And then you get to Act 1. So Act 1 is when you get to see Cordell and Mickey kind of establishing what their new work dynamic is going to be. Then you have Cordell being part of an awkward family dinner. And then you have him reuniting with his daughter, Stella, who I think she got arrested, but she had to get picked up at the police station because she was still a 16-year-old minor, and I think she was caught with possession, and with her best friend Isabel, who now has issues because her family is now at risk of being deported. So that's a little something there. And then it cuts commercial again. And then Act 2, we meet Mickey's boyfriend, Trey Barnett. They talk about Cordell and what she learned after the first day on the job with him. We see Cordell reuniting with the old friend Jerry, the bartender, who who was also friends with Emily, but she couldn't tell anything new to Cordell about the night Emily died. Then we also have Cordell and Mickey chasing a case, the case of the episode, lead. And then we having that suspect provoking Cordell into a fist fight when he pretty much provokes him about the fact that he couldn't save his dead wife. I mean, what idiot does that, first off? But, yeah, so he kind of loses his cool for that. I don't blame him, because, like, the suspect was a dick. But there's that. But that leads into Act 3. So commercial break, then Act 3. We get Mickey and Cordell fighting with each other while Trey is trying to patch Cordell up from his injured hand. And then we also get Cordell being called into Stella's school because she skipped out, him working with his brother to try to find her. This is where Cordell meets with Stella's best friend's mom to try to see if she was there and learning about the whole deportation thing. And then we have him going back to work and getting making a discovery with Mickey about the case turning into a drug cartel thing with heroin being smuggled through the guise of this shipping company. But Mickey tells Cordell to go find Stella and then she'll deal with the case at hand because family was more important. And then you go to commercial. And then Act 4, you get Cordell finding his daughter at the gazebo, which was him and Emily's spot, and they get into a fight. The big one. And then we get Mickey getting into a confrontation with the drug cartel. Cordell joins in, fight. Chase scene ensues, arrests are made, but they have each other's backs for that. And then they both go visit the captain. They're told about a new undercover mission that Cordell is offered, and he's thinking about taking it. And then the captain kind of tells him to not let the altercation with the suspect happen again, with him having his anger take control over him, and he understands. Also, fun fact, because I believe I kept seeing the sneak peek of how, like, there's that scene where Cordell looks to Mickey and says, like, well, that's his way of calling me an idiot. That scene in the office, that scene was cut out, which I was disappointed in, because, like, that scene was happening with the captain. Like, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for that scene to come, and then they just cut to commercial. I'm like, wait a minute. He doesn't actually get to call him an idiot? That's not actually canon, because if it's not in the episode, it's not canon, even though they shot it. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's something there. So commercial, like I said, then we go to Act 5. And this is where we see Cordell having a moment with his brother, questioning about how Emily had died and how the suspicions he has behind it, but his brother Liam telling him, just forget it. The case is closed, move on and be present with your family now, which leads Cordell to talk with his mom, which leads him to some advice, and then that leads him to having a talk with his son, and then later to his daughter, and telling her that he's not going to take the new undercover position, and she doubts him, but he says that he's not going to change his mind about the job or about her. So it kind of ends it there. Yeah, with them in the potentially new farmhouse home for them that the mom bought for Cordell to kind of move in, so that he's not living in the house where him and his wife used to live. So there's that. I do not know if that was simpler for me to just break it down like that. But when I was trying to write the jot notes and not go into full details of what was happening, kind of like what we're taught in class to do when we're trying to create an episode, I was like, oh, these are the points. Yeah, makes sense. So that was a fun exercise for me. Don't know if that helps you guys or not. But again, I'm only doing one Walker video as of this moment. I don't know if I'm going to continue. Maybe I might do the finale. I don't know yet. But moving on to potential hints, though. Based off this episode, because of the fact it's the premiere, you kind of also want to wonder, what are some things that are setting up? What are some things that they're trying to set up for you to kind of expect or hope to see in the coming first season? So for me, it seems like Cordell is going to try to find answers about what happened to Emily and like why she died or how she died, because he's still suspicious about that. About the fact that there was a poker chip on her body when she died, the fact that it looked like her body was laid to rest when she was supposedly alone, or the question of why she was there and not with their family during family night, because I think they were playing board games at the very beginning. So he's definitely not going to put that to rest, because he thinks that something is wrong. I also think that Cordell's time during that 10-month undercover gig, that he keeps evading ever talking about. People keep bringing it up and he's like, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to talk about it. I think something else happened on that. It could be just him taking longer than the case needed because he was grieving over Emily. But I feel like that what happened during that 10 months is going to come up again, either because it is relevant to the current case at hand, or if it's because it's more dealing with where his mental state was during that time. But I think that's going to be brought up a few more times, I believe. I also think that Stella's best friend Isabel, the fact that her family is being worried about being deported, I don't know if that specifically is going to be something that's reoccurring, but they definitely showed with Mickey how she's estranged with her mom a little bit because they both had different views about law enforcement, and how her mom thinks that law enforcement don't have the backs of any immigrants, which kind of is shown a little bit with Isabel's parents being worried about having to be deported. So I'm thinking maybe something along those lines, whether it's not about Isabel's parents specifically in their situation, but like something along that road of a topic, I think would be discussed, especially through Mickey's side of things, I think. But it's definitely a few things going on there that they've kind of seeded into that I definitely want to look into and see how they handle it. So we'll have to wait and see about that. Most shocking moment. When I think back on it, I think Emily's death was shocker. I mean, I'm not surprised she died because that was the whole premise of the show to begin with. But I think how it happened and the suspicion behind it is what has me shocked. Because first off, I wasn't expecting to see it. Like, I thought it was just going to be like, I'm already going to be like 2 years down the line of her already passing, and maybe it's through snippets of flashbacks that I see. I wasn't expecting to open the episode up with her death. That's for sure. So, I mean, yeah, it's an inciting incident and everything, but yeah, that's something that was the shock. But top 3 favorite moments. For some reason, I really liked the fight that Mickey and Cordell had while Trey was patching him up from wounding his hand. I don't know why I liked it. Maybe it was just because it was the 3 different personalities working off of each other, or maybe it's because it was just them pretty much exposing each other for like their tendencies of like, I figured out why the 2 of us were paired up together. You tend to break the rules, and I'm meant to keep you on the straight and narrow about that, and kind of like Trey is just in the middle of it, like enjoying the fun kind of a thing, yet also being back up for Mickey saying, "Oh, you should not do that, man. You don't get her angry," kind of a thing. So I just found it funny. So it was very interesting. I hope we see more interactions of the 3 of them together. I mean, definitely we're gonna get more with Cordell and Mickey as new partners, but I just want to see the 3 of them together. I mean, like, I hope Trey is like a permanent station in the show, and not just him like in between. I think he was part of the military, but I hope he's not like gonna get shipped out and then like that's it. But yeah, I enjoyed the three of them in that. So there's that. I also like the small moment that we got of Cordell and his friend Jerry dancing when he was telling her take a break, unload, and focus on and just have a little bit of fun. I thought that was very interesting just because they were both grieving over Emily, and yet Cordell was the one that was worried about how Jerry was feeling and trying to get her to like not think about it, as opposed to like, but also that could have been a selfish thing too, because in a way, if she forgot about it, then he could forget about it and just be lost in the fun that they were having. But I don't know, it was a good vibe, because otherwise everywhere he went, it was like tension, tension, tension everywhere kind of a thing. So I sense more happening with them. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. But another thing I really liked was Cordell apologizing to his son, August, apologizing for saying like, I didn't want you to grow up this as fast as, like, he's kind of apologizing for his son having to grow up as fast as he did. So I really like that we had that little bit of a moment, and I like that his son seemed to be more understanding from it, or it could just be that he's bottling everything up a lot better. But I did like that they got to share that moment, and it wasn't just filled with a lot of hate or any resentment or anything like that. So I feel like for them, their conversation is going to be more of like the actually hearing what each other has to say, as opposed to Cordell and Stella, which I'll get into as my top 3 peeved moments. I really don't know why, but Stella is a brat to me. She just pisses me off, and I really don't know why. And like a part of me is like, well, I get it. She's grieving. She's just acting out. But at the same time, it's like you pretty much want your father to, like, a part of me was like, want to just kind of like snap her out of it, just because of the fact like she was acting as if like she was the only one grieving over her mom's death. And I'm like, no. I mean, like, it seems like you're forgetting that Cordell was also, like, your own father is grieving over the death of his wife. So it's like, and yet Stella didn't see it. It kind of seemed like, I don't know. I just didn't like the way she behaved, and I don't know if there's just like I should give her some leeway just because of the fact she is a grieving 16-year-old. But then again, I'm looking at her brother, and I'm like, he's not acting like this, and just like, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too judgmental, but the whole time, like, it was scenes with her, I was just like, no, I can't. Like, I can't deal with it. It's just like, it was just grating, and I don't know why, but yeah, that's my thoughts there. And then we'll move to ships very briefly. But the dynamic and the relationship between Mickey and Trey, loved it. Absolutely love it. I need more of it. Like I said, I don't want Trey just coming in between tours if he is part of the military. I want him actually to be in every episode, helping any way that he can. And because he's a medic, I feel like he can help a lot more than just being someone in an unrelated field. But, like, I want to see more of them, like, relationship-wise. And I don't want it because there's bad drama between them. I want, like, a good, healthy relationship between the two of them. Like, a good, healthy, supportive relationship. Like, and, like, then it'll be golden. Like, love it. So there's that. Another ship, I don't know because I'm conflicted. But, like, that dance between Cordell and Jerry, I'm like, oh, maybe. Like, if you forget the fact that they're both mourning for Emily, which is her friend and his dead wife, if we forgot about that one dance thing and the whole interaction between them is like, oh, maybe this could be the slow burn of the series. Them like I'd be into this slow burn. But then at the same time, it's like, no, I always hate stories where it's always the two grieving friends and like one of them just lost a significant other, and then the significant other's best friend is also grieving, and then because they're grieving together, they slowly grow feelings for each other. It's like, I hate stories like that, because then I'm like, no, there's a boundary. You don't fall for, like, maybe it's just me, and it's just like I have unrealistic boundaries when it comes to relationships. But like for me, it's like, no, the moment that a story sets that up, I'm like, oh, you know that in some way, shape, or form that X is coming back from the dead or something. Like, I don't know, or it's gonna complicate things, and then or they feel like they're being betraying, or I don't know. But like, so that's why I'm conflicted, because if you don't have Emily in the picture, like, at all as a connection, I could see Cordell and Jerry maybe being the slow burn of the series, and I'm like, okay, I could see it, I could root for it, I'm seeing the connection. But at the same time, it's like, no, like, she was best friends to his dead wife, and they're both grieving over her. So I'm like, I don't want the cliched them hooking up because they're both having the same grief. So it's like I'm conflicted on how I feel about that ship. But I feel like it's going to be a slow burn if they do turn it. So I'm like, I don't know. Plus, also, she's only in one scene. So, like, she'd have to be important enough to feature it in the pilot episode. Because when I'm creating my own show right now, I had 2 characters that are only featured in one scene, but they're meant to be really important characters to my main characters. And yet I was told to cut it because there was too many characters. And I'm like, but so it's like, when do you get to show only the one character in the one scene? Like, when does it fly good? I don't know. Well, yeah, what ships did you like, and who are you rooting for? Anyone conflicted about the whole potential of Cordell and Jerry? Or is that just me? I don't know. Because I'm pretty sure that, like, Emily is actually dead. And she's not coming back. Maybe in flashbacks, but she's not, like, physically coming back. But, yeah. But, predictions, let's move into what I saw in the promo. It kind of looked like Cordell was looking more into Emily's death. And then it also looked like he was trying to adjust to being back home. And struggling a little bit for that. So I'm very interested to see what will happen next. I'm interested to see what the standard episode is meant to look like, because sometimes the series pilot, it might be slightly different than what the other episodes are meant to look like, because the series premiere is meant to pull an audience in, and then usually have to give a series 2 episodes a chance. It's the series finale or series premiere, sorry, is meant to be all the flair and all the specialty to reel you in that first time. The second one is usually the one that kind of like really sets the tone of what to expect for the series. And then if you want, you can give the third one just to see if it's consistent with the second. And then you can make your judgment on whether or not you want to continue or not. So, I'm definitely going to watch the series. Got to show my sport. And I'm just interested to see what happens just from on a reboot standard. Because I did see an interview where the difference is that they're going to focus more on the relationship as opposed to like the martial arts aspect of the original series, which is kind of what I remember from it too, because Chuck Norris always did like his stunts and everything. They were so cool. So I'll leave it at that though, guys. But what did you guys think of the pilot? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next in the series? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions about that. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I reblog promos, web clips, coach tips, synopsis news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. I don't think I'm going to do it for Walker, but if there's any other show that I do cover on this channel, chances are it is on my Tumblr, so you can always check it out to see if it is the show that's really detailed over there. But there's that. WordPress, link for that is down below. Anything I post online is character WordPress, a little more organized, a little more detailed, still a work in progress. As well, same thing, I don't think I'm going to do anything Walker related for it, but if there's any other show that I covered and you're interested to see if it's covered on WordPress, go check that out as well. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. I might do a Walker video for the season finale, just to kind of see, like, round it up, because I definitely am watching the series. Plus, also just timing wise, because like that's 13 weeks from now. That's gonna roughly put me past my graduation. Hopefully, I think. I really don't know when they're gonna put the week hiatuses in between these episodes, so we'll have to see about that. But yeah, I do plan to do a Walker finale video and kind of see how it progressed throughout the show. Throughout the season, kind of see what to expect next with how they end things off. Maybe have some season 2 predictions and stuff like that. So definitely put on the notification bell so you can be made aware of when that video comes out. But also, if you do follow any of my other videos, the bell will be helpful as well, because I don't have a set schedule yet of when videos will be up by when. It's usually whenever I can squeeze time to edit. After I've recorded, that's usually when I can. And if my computer cooperates when it comes to rendering, that's always a deciding factor too. So that's something there. So otherwise, I'm going to get back into my schoolwork, editing then schoolwork. But my throat is feeling it right now, so I'm going to end it there. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. In the meantime, you can check out any of my other videos. I did recently post a few tier ranking videos for a certain series. So go check that out as well. I'll put the card up on the screen for you to click on if you want to check that out. But until next time, guys, for Walker finale episode, check that or be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, my next new video is probably going to be about Legacies 302, so you can keep up to date with me through that if you'd like. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Stay safe during this pandemic. Please wear a mask, and I hope you guys are doing good. Till then, guys, bye for now.